You've probably never described yourself as someone caught in hustle culture. That word feels too loud for your life, too shallow, too performative. You're not chasing attention or status. You're not trying to build an image. You're just doing what needs to be done. Your days are full because people rely on you. Your pace feels necessary, not indulgent. Slowing down doesn't register as rebellion against God. It sort of feels like negligence, like letting something slip that you were entrusted to hold. And that's what makes this hard to see. The pressure shaping your life isn't coming from ambition. It's coming from responsibility, from the quiet belief that if you loosen your grip, something meaningful won't be carried the way it should be. I'm thinking provision, stability, faithfulness. You may not articulate that belief out loud, but your body keeps living as if it's true. So you keep going, not because you want more, but because stopping feels risky. There's a version of hustle that gets criticized openly. It's the loud one, the self-promotional one, the kind driven by ego and comparison. Most Christians know how to flat out reject that version. It's easy to spot it doesn't fit your values. But there's another version that hides behind better language. It sounds like stewardship, diligence, obedience, feels mature, responsible, necessary. And because it carries the appearance of faithfulness, it often goes unquestioned. This is the hustle lie Christians believe. It says that constant output is proof of devotion, that exhaustion is a byproduct of faithfulness, that if you slow down too much, you're at risk of becoming careless, unproductive, or spiritually soft. Now, you don't believe this explicitly. You would never teach it, but it lives underneath the way you move through your days. You feel it when rest makes you uneasy instead of relieved, or when stillness feels unproductive, or when prayer becomes just another responsibility instead of a place you can settle. Now, that shift does not happen overnight. It forms slowly through seasons where being strong was necessary, where staying alert mattered, where you learned that people depended on you and that dropping the ball had consequences. Those seasons shaped you. They taught you how to carry weight. They taught you how to keep going when others couldn't. That strength isn't the problem. The problem begins when that posture never gets set down. Over time, responsibility stops being something you carry and starts becoming something that you are. You don't just work hard. You identify as the one who holds things together. You don't just show up. You become the person others trust because you always do. And without realizing it, your word starts attaching itself to that role. Faith becomes another place where strength is required. You still believe, you still pray, you still trust God, but your trust is expressed through effort instead of rest, through vigilance instead of dependence, through staying useful instead of staying present. You don't feel rebellious. You feel faithful, but underneath that faithfulness is a subtle fear. The fear that if you stop pushing, something's going to unravel. That if you don't stay on top of things, God might not step in the way that you hope. That your steadiness is just part of what keeps everything afloat. That fear doesn't come from God. It comes from moments where you had to be strong without support. From seasons where you learned that outcomes felt safer in your hands than anywhere else. It came from responsibilities that slowly trained your nervous system to believe that rest equals risk. And once that belief settles in, hustle no longer looks like striving. It just looks like survival. Now, you don't hate work, but you do hate what work has started to do to you. You feel thinner than you used to, less connected, less spacious on the inside. Joy shows up less easily. Rest doesn't really land the way it used to. And even when you slow down, your body stays alert like it's waiting for the next demand. So you wonder if this is just adulthood or leadership or the cost of calling. But the truth is, this isn't the life faith was meant to produce. Faith was never meant to reinforce pressure. It was always meant to interrupt it. God never asked for output that requires you to trade away formation. He never asked you to carry responsibility in a way that hollows you out. And when you live as though every outcome depends on your strength, you don't become more faithful. You begin living as though God is distant and silent. Stewardship was never meant to operate from scarcity. It was meant to flow from a grounded identity that doesn't rise and fall with performance. There's a difference between discipline and drivenness. Discipline honors limits. It makes space for internal life. It stays connected to purpose. Drivenness ignores limits because slowing down can feel dangerous. And you can feel that difference in your body. One builds you up, the other one slowly consumes you. There's also a difference between responsibility and self-erasure. Right? Responsibility enlarges your capacity without shrinking your humanity. Self-erasure happens when you keep giving more than God ever asked for because stopping feels unsafe. And here's the hard part to face. Much of what you're carrying was never assigned to you by God. It was assumed. It was absorbed. It was taken on quietly because you were capable and available. Over time, those unexamined burdens became normal. They felt like part of being faithful. Faithfulness isn't measured by how much you can endure. It's measured by how aligned you remain while you endure. You don't need to quit your work to live differently. You don't need to abandon responsibility. You don't need to burn anything down. What needs to change is the center you're working from. Working without losing your soul doesn't mean disengaging. It means shifting from pressure-driven effort to grounded stewardship. It means letting faith sit underneath your work instead of behind it. It means trusting that God is active even when you're not managing every single variable. That kind of trust doesn't arrive through effort. It grows through formation. Formation asks you to notice where fear has disguised itself as diligence, where anxiety has dressed up as responsibility, where hustle has been looked at as obedience. And this noticing isn't condemnation, it's just clarity. And clarity creates space. It's space to rest without feeling guilty about it, to say no without fear, space to work hard without disappearing inside the work, space to be faithful without being consumed. You're not weak for wanting that space. You're not ungrateful for questioning the cost of your space. You're not failing because the old way stopped working. You're just maturing. You're waking up to the truth that pressure is an awful master and an even worse measure of faith. You're realizing that the voice telling you everything will fall apart if you slow down is not the voice of God. That voice is just fear dressed up like responsibility. Now, there is a way to work that leaves you intact. There is a way to lead without erasing yourself, a way to carry weight without letting it define you. And that way begins when you stop confusing hustle with faithfulness and start letting faith reshape how you carry what's been entrusted to you. If you want to keep walking this out with me, I write one weekly letter for people who are tired in a deeper way. You can find it in the description below.